tell me what your role on Yacht Galileo is.
My name's Wes Bartho and I'm the captain on Yacht Galileo. What drew me to Galileo specifically? 100% the itinerary and its planned usage. The playing fields of the Indian Ocean and the Pacific Ocean, you've got wind, you've got incredible waves, you've got insane diving, huge varieties of fishing, different fishing methods, things like that. So I think the Pacific is so special just because you have so many opportunities or there's so much variety on offer. It caters to every type of individual, whether you're very water sports focused or whether you're just into natural beauty, some of the bluest water you've ever seen, wildlife. It really offers it all. You can go from one island chain to the next and it's completely different and a completely different experience. So I think being able to bring those two together, with having all the water sports toys and everything on Galileo and the expertise, in those regions, there's the ability to enjoy your trip. Every sense of your trip is absolutely incredible. You can relax as much as you want, you can go and do adrenaline sports as much as you want, or you can just go and explore the islands, and their serenity and that, so you literally have got everything on offer, and for me that's unreal. So Galileo has just come out of an extensive refit period in Singapore, which has kind of wrapped up our sort of Indian Ocean time. We've been there for almost 2.5, 3 years now. Galileo is currently on her way to the Pacific as we speak. She's in the region of East Timor right now, and we're going to be making our way through to Fiji initially. We'll probably base ourselves there for a couple of months, probably from May through to sort of the end of September. And the plan from then is then to shift further east to Tahiti, French Polynesia, and go and spend a few months there over the festive season and into sort of March, April next year. Certainly the long-term plan is to be in the Pacific region, and no doubt we'll be branching out from those sort of main hubs to the sort of lesser traveled areas. Yeah, it's all exciting. There's a lot of opportunities there that we can explore, and we welcome people's desires to go to these far-flung places. That's those are the sort of trips that we absolutely love. When you can show up somewhere you don't really know what to expect, but it's going to be fantastic. Operating remotely really takes another whole level of planning and preparation. Your equipment's got to be running well. You've got to have redundancy. You've got to have extensive spares available to you. You've got to have contacts, and you've got to have people ready to move fast when and if needed. You're far away from your main ports. You don't have a chandlery on the corner, so it takes planning of up to 6 months of what stores and products we're going to be carrying, things like that. So a lot of planning goes into it, but that's the best part about it. You really plan ahead. It's something that you know what you're going to be doing for the next 6 to 8 months, and that in itself is all an experience of from us going from the Indian Ocean into the shipyard. Was kind of closing that chapter. Now we're gearing up for another 6 months or the next 2-3 years in the Pacific, covering new territory. But you're going into a massive ocean where there's vast blue water around you, so you need to be planned well in advance to ensure everything runs smoothly. Your maintenance periods need to be planned. Your team needs to be looking after all the equipment as well as you can, and keeping everything running at its optimum, really. Getting to the Pacific is something that a lot of people think is just so far away. It seems so far away because it's definitely the path less traveled. I think the predominant areas we'll focus on will be Fiji and Tahiti. That's coming from a sort of logistical perspective, where they're typically easier to get to. There's a lot of big airlines that fly in there directly. But, we can tailor things for those that want to go a little further off the beaten path and get a different experience, your likes of Vanuatu, Solomon Islands, Micronesia, Palau, all those sorts of areas, Marshall Islands. I mean, there's so much history there. So it really is we're happy to tailor things. That's really what it's about. You tell us where you want to go, and we'll make it happen. I truly believe that a little bit of extra travel makes it absolutely worthwhile. You get an experience beyond any other experience you have. I guess what ties into that is one of the best parts about sort of expedition cruising is you have a rough idea, or you have an idea of where you want to go and what you want to see, but it's one of those places where you might come around a corner and and there's one of the most beautiful bays you've ever seen with no one around, and you decide that's where you want to go for the day. So it's we try and stay flexible to maximize all those opportunities. We might be going somewhere and all of a sudden we have a bunch of whales that are hanging out in that area, and we decide, hey, well, let's stay here and spend the day watching whales and things like that. It's we want to curate the best trips we can, and I think one of the beauties of remote cruising is that you don't have to plan everything to a T. You kind of go with the flow, let nature do its thing. There's so much natural beauty around you that no matter what we do, it's going to be a special experience.
So how is Galileo equipped for these remote and unique destinations, from a guest experience to technical capability?
Yes, on board Galileo, we've got an expansive range of water toys. We've got top-of-the-range fishing gear, surfboards, sea bobs, dive gear, foiling gear, wing foiling gear, kite surfing. We like to offer all those varieties. For those that aren't super into the water, we've got some beautiful spaces on board where you can just relax and take in the scenery. You don't have to be in the water all the time. You can really mix up your days. And then the natural landscape there just lends itself to adventure ashore as well. It's not your typical dining ashore type of destination, but we provide that magic on board. We've got incredible chefs that will keep you well fed. The rest of the team will take care of all your water sports and your sort of shore-based desires. Yeah, the Pacific has got incredible fishing. We from trolling to top water stuff, popping, jigging. There's big fish in the Pacific. You get some of the biggest wahoo and biggest dogtooth tuna over there. Where you're talking dogtooth up to 80-90 kilos, or in that region, big wahoo up to sort of 35 kilos. Fish that you just don't get in other oceans. Once we catch a fish, we love to bring it back to the boat. Obviously prepare it. Normally what we do is we'll carry like an ice slurry on board, and a being esky or a fish bag, so that fish comes straight out of the water. It goes straight into an ice cold slurry, which brings down the core temperature of the fish. It really sort of keeps the flesh and the meat in the best condition. And then once we're back on board, obviously we fill it up and prepare it as you wish. The chefs have got so many tricks up their sleeve, from sashimi to all the different methods of cooking. So we love to provide fresh fish. We love catching it, we love preparing it, and then love seeing guests enjoying it. It's pretty special to eat the fish you just caught a couple of hours prior. Yeah, look, I think when it comes to spearing, spearing is spearing, but when you're targeting big fish species, if you're shooting a 30 kilo wahoo or a 40-50 kilo doggy, you've got to have the right equipment for that. You're going to have the right gun, typically a much bigger, more powerful gun. You've got to have the flotation devices that are going to help you get that fish back. So we've got that gear, and we've got some very experienced spearos on board, which would be more than happy to take you on an adventure. You can go and shoot some smaller reef fish if you wish, or you can go and chase some big pelagics. It's all there for the taking.
Finally, for those inspired to experience Galileo firsthand, how can they get in touch and start planning their charter?
Cool. Yeah. So Galileo, we partner with IYC based out of Monaco. So when you're interested in joining us for a trip, just reach out to them. They can provide you with dates that we have availability, where we're going to be, and they also work really closely with the captains in sort of designing your perfect itinerary. So reach out to them, and we'll take care of everything that you need.